Hi, my name is Chelsea. I'm a size 16. I started out at 240 pounds and I currently weigh like 189 pounds. And I had dreams of completing an Olympic triathlon, which I just did a couple weeks ago, my first ever Olympic triathlon. And I have dreams of completing a half Ironman someday. So this took a couple weeks to upload. I haven't been feeling great, but I'll get into that in another video. But I still wanted to do this while everything is still feeling fresh. This was just about 3 weeks ago that I completed my first ever Olympic triathlon. And get ready for a wild ride because it's a pretty dramatic story. Okay, so to start, first of all, I have done a sprint triathlon before. This was probably about 8 years ago. It was actually the same triathlon, but the one, the shorter distance. So I wasn't new to the course, although it's been so long that I pretty much forgot everything by the time I got there again to do this last triathlon. But I'm not new to races, basically. So I had done a marathon before, several half marathons. Again, this was years and years ago, but I still kind of remembered what it was like to get ready for a race, prepare, have all my stuff ready, go to the race course, set up, everything like that. So I had been training for the Olympic triathlon for about 6 months. I wasn't following like a super strict triathlon plan, but I was training regularly and taking it very seriously for about 6 months. So I did feel really good and I felt ready by the time that the triathlon came. I was nervous, of course, because it's been several years since I've been active and been into triathlon training or any of that. But I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling pretty confident. I had trained really seriously for 6 months. I had lost a lot of weight. And so I was just feeling really strong overall. Little did I know that this race would turn out totally different from what I was expecting, but okay, so to start, leading up to the like a couple weeks leading up to the triathlon, I was not feeling well, which again, I'll get into in another video, but I just was not feeling well. Luckily, the day of the triathlon, I was feeling totally fine. I did get a little headache during the bike ride, but other than that, literally no problems at all. So that was really nice. So I'm so thankful for that. So I'd like to blame my slow pace on my health issues, but that literally had nothing to do with it. So I had packed all of my triathlon gear the night before. I had everything laid out and ready to go. And so that way that next morning I could just wake up at like 5 a.m. and just go out the door. Basically, I did eat breakfast and have some coffee and stuff, but basically I was up and out the door within like 20-30 minutes or whatever. I got to the race course, parked, brought all my stuff. I had dropped my bike off the day before at the bib pickup event. So I had my big duffel bag and I was just walking down the street. I went to the transition tent, started setting up my stuff, and I realized I forgot my helmet. So at this point it was 5:59 a.m. The transition tent closed at 6:30. So I had 31 minutes. I knew I was not going to make it. I live about 25 minutes away. Luckily, my husband was still home, so I called him and I was like, "Bring me my helmet." He dropped everything he was doing and he sped over to the race site, dropped off the helmet. It ended up being fine, but we had like 5 minutes or so before the transition tent closed. And so I honestly don't know what I would have done at that point. If the helmet didn't make it there in time, I don't even know if I would have been able to race because there's another tent that I could have dropped it off at, but I wouldn't been able to have grabbed it after the swim portion. So I just feel really lucky that all worked out the way it did because he got there in time. I got my helmet. It was fine. So after that, though, once he did drop it off, I was feeling really anxious. And so I just had a lot of nervous energy already because I was, it was the morning of the triathlon. I had this stressful thing happen with forgetting my helmet. And once I got all my stuff done in the transition tent, I was just feeling like really nervous. So I was just basically like pacing around, walking around to try to like burn off some of that nervous energy that I had. Then it came time for the swim. So the Olympic triathlon people started right at 7. My age class or whatever started at like 7:07, and I went to the back of the line of my age group because I knew I was going to be slow. And so I was just planning on going in after everybody and then staying on the outer loop of the course. So that way I wasn't going to get kicked in the face and stuff before. I had done that before with a sprint triathlon and I don't remember it being a problem at all, but I was just cautious of it this time. So I'm waiting for the swim to start. I'm feeling good. I did not actually end up wearing my wetsuit. It was a last minute decision. I did bring it. And then I think walking in, I was talking to some other people that were racing, and neither of them were going to wear their wetsuit. Even though they were doing the sprint triathlon, I was just like, I don't know. I'm just not going to wear it. And it ended up being fine, but kind of in hindsight, I'm like, I wish I would have worn it just for the knowing now what happened in the water. I wish I would have had that just extra feeling of like buoyancy and confidence. But anyway, our age group starts. I get into the water and immediately I realized that the water is really, really choppy that day. It was a very windy day and the water, like the waves were very choppy. It's just a lake. It's not like ocean water. It's just a lake. But I like immediately, once I got into the water, I started panicking, which I was kind of surprised by this reaction out of me because I've done so much open water swimming. Like I said before, I grew up in Minnesota. I'm used to swimming in lakes. I'm a super confident swimmer. I'm not fast, but I'm a super confident swimmer. I've never panicked like that in the water before. And like I said, I've done a triathlon before. I've never panicked in the water before. So I was really surprised by my reaction of just getting into the water, starting to swim, and just within a few minutes I was panicking. And so that was just really scary for me. I had never experienced that before. And so I had only been swimming for just a few minutes and I had to flag down a lifeguard on a kayak like right away, like probably within the first 5 minutes. I just could not get my breathing under control. I wasn't like scared that I was going to drown, but I was panicking. I was feeling very anxious. And so like I said, I hung onto the kayak for a few minutes just to like try to calm myself down and just get my breathing under control, like I said. So I hung on for just a couple minutes. And my goggles I was just having a problem with my goggles that morning too. It was just, everything was just not going well in the swim, like right off the bat. After I let go of the kayak, they stayed in place, which is legal. So that means I wasn't like disqualified or anything for holding onto the kayak. As long as they're not moving forward, you don't get disqualified in this particular race that I was doing. So I let go of the kayak and then I start swimming again, but immediately I just turned over on my back and I was doing the backstroke for, I don't know, probably another like 20 minutes or so. It was a long time and I was going so slow. I was so unbelievably slow. But for me, that was a really good way to get my breathing under control and try to like calm myself down because I was, like I said, I was just in like this weird panicky state. And, I just wanted to, at that point, I just wanted to keep moving forward. I didn't have, I didn't feel like I was in danger. I didn't feel like I was going to drown, but I just was like, okay, I just need to keep moving forward and maybe I can get my breathing under control and then I can, eventually flip over and, continue the race. So I did that for, like I said, another like 20 minutes or so. And during that time that I was on my back, this particular race has these volunteers called swim angels. And it's where like really, really experienced volunteer swimmers come alongside and just swim next to kind of the struggling swimmers in the race. So they're not allowed to touch you or help you at all, but they're just swimming right next to you and encouraging you. And just so you can kind of feel like, okay, I have this buddy next to me. I'll be okay. And that helped me so much. That helped me so much. I was just struggling. I was, like I said, I was panicking. I couldn't get my breathing under control. Then I was all down on myself because I was slow. And then I was doing the backstroke. And at some point during this time when I was doing the backstroke, I felt that final wave of people come past me. And I knew at that point I was the last one going to finish. And I just had to let it go. I had to not think about that. I had to not worry because at this point, I just wanted to finish the swim course. So this guy, his name was Randy. I asked him, he's like, "Hi, I'm Randy." And I was like, "Can you help me?" But by help me, I meant like swim next to me because I knew he was a swim angel. And he's like, "Yeah." And so he's swimming. And he's like a fast swimmer. And at this point, I flip over and I'm not doing the backstroke anymore. I'm just doing a really slow breaststroke. And I got my breathing under control at this point. So I was feeling good, but I just kept at the breaststroke. Luckily, my shoulder injury was totally fine during this. I don't remember feeling any, pain or anything during the whole swim part. But I was just so concerned about my breathing and trying to relax and calm myself down. But anyway, so Randy was swimming alongside me and then I would like pop up every once in a while and I'd be like, okay, where's the finish line? Where's the finish line? He's like, nope, nope. Just, we're going to focus on this next buoy. See the next buoy? That's where we're going to go next. And so I was like, okay, okay. So then I go back to my breaststroke. I'm going so slow. He would not tell me where the finish line was. He would not let me focus on that. I think he knew that it was still pretty far away at that point and he didn't want me to get overwhelmed. So he kept just saying, nope, now you see that next buoy? That's where we're going to go. The next buoy, you're doing great. You're doing great. He just was so encouraging and so kind. And I just was like so overwhelmed by his kindness and that he was there. Oh my gosh, it seriously helped me so much. And I was having goggle troubles the whole time too. I've never had problems with my goggles before. I don't know if I was just panicking and they got loose and then I don't even know. But like one kept filling up with water. So I kept like pulling up and trying to like clean them out. And I don't know, the whole thing was just a disaster from beginning to end of the swim. But anyways, and so then at some point, once we got closer to the end, kayak, because I was the last one in the water, a kayak with a lifeguard came up next to me. So she was swimming on the side of me, or she was rowing on the side of me. And then I had Randy, the swim angel, going next to me. So I felt so safe and I felt so encouraged, even though I was trying not to be down on myself and I was trying to let go of the fact that I was the last one out of the water. I just was so overwhelmed and thankful at that moment because I just knew I was safe. I knew that I was going to finish the swim at that point. And so I just, it ended up being fine at the end, so they led me to the end and I was able to get onto land finally, or, the last part of the swim where I could get up and start running. And I just turned to Randy and I was like, I don't think I could have finished this without you. Thank you. So, I was so thankful for him. So anyways, I get out and I am exhausted when I get out of the water. I was surprised by how tired my body was. I think a lot of that was just because I was so anxious the whole time. And so my body and my mind were already very tired at that point. So I was just like, oh shoot. And I was the last one. So I feel like I lost a lot of steam. So at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm finished. I'm done with the water. And now I can just focus on the bike. So anyways, I run over to the bike. I think I'll have to double check my times and show the times in here. I think my swim was like over an hour. I can't remember exactly the time it was, but I think it was over an hour, which is a long time. So then I run over to the bike transition tent. Of course, I'm the last one. I think I only spent like 3 or 4 minutes in the first transition, which was good. I fueled up. I got some Gatorade in me. I think I grabbed like a granola bar. I dried off real quick, put on my helmet. I put on a track jacket because it was pretty chilly and windy out that day, which I'll get to in a second because, oh my gosh, that bike ride. I get to the bike. I get to the mount area, get on my bike. So I think I was only going about 10 miles per hour throughout the whole course, which was really slow. It was a very hilly course. It was very windy. I was tired from my swim. So that also was something where I'm like, oh man, that's way harder than I thought it was going to be. So I'm not somebody who really cusses a lot or whatever, but I was cussing on that bike ride, like out loud, yelling expletives during that bike ride. The hills were hard. It was windy. I was tired from the swim. I knew I was behind, so I felt discouraged. And I was just having a miserable bike ride. I did have a little bit of a headache during the bike ride too, which I don't feel like that affected my performance at all. It just was kind of something else that was annoying. All of a sudden, a squad car pulls up behind me and he's following me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the last person. So he's following me. He probably followed me for the last, 30, 40 minutes. It was a kind of a busy county road that the course was on, and so there were kind of a lot of cars. So I did actually kind of appreciate having him behind me during a lot of it, just because I felt like I was by myself, in the middle of nowhere, and all the other triathletes were long gone. So I don't know, it was just like a nice sense of like security. And so, but the funny part about that was he at a couple of different points when I was like, especially there was a couple points when I was going uphill, he would get on his loudspeaker and be like, you got this. And so he was like cheering for me. And then at one point, another truck drives by, and on his speaker, he starts playing the Rocky theme song. And then they roll down their window and they start honking and they're like cheering for me. And that's one thing I'll say that I was super appreciative of the whole community, of the whole triathlon community, is people are so nice to people when they're racing. Like, people on the streets could, and I already stand out. I'm a plus size lady. I have an old bike. I have old gear, you know. I already stand out a little bit. And so, and especially being the last one, you know, people knew that I was kind of struggling, and so they were cheering for me. And so that was super funny. But anyway, so I get off so finally I wrap up 24 miles or whatever. I think it was like 2 hours. I think it was 2 hours. Again, I'll put the exact time up here, but so I get off my bike and I know that I am running behind. The cutoff of this whole triathlon is noon. And I think at that point it was like 10 a.m. So I was like, okay, I'm getting off my bike. The run is going to be the easiest part for me. So I thought, and I was feeling good that I finished the bike, and it was, yeah. So I get off the bike, change my gear again. I think I was only in the transition tent for like 2 minutes or something. But so I start running. The loop was kind of lame. It's like in a neighborhood area, and you do 2 loops to make the 6.2 miles. So you just go around, you know, you go around, get back to the race site, and then go around again and finish it. So it's kind of a lame, I didn't really like the run course, but whatever. And so I run the first 3 miles. I come back and I'm feeling fine. I felt like I was going fast. And then once I checked the pace afterwards, I was like, oh my gosh, I was going so slow. I can't even remember what it was, but I think it took me like an hour or something to finish just do the first loop, the 3 miles or whatever. So anyways, I finished the first loop, the 3 miles, and all the people are very sparse looking in the crowd. Once I do the first loop, I can tell people are going home, and they have finished a long time ago, and I still have another 3 miles to go. And my whole family was there, my husband and my mom and my stepdad, and I had some friends, and I had a friend that did like the sprint triathlon, and she was sitting there waiting for me. She finished way before I did. And they thought I was about to cross the finish line, and I just shouted at them. I was like, I still have 3 more miles. And then this is where it gets really dramatic again. Not that the whole thing wasn't already dramatic, but then this part was like soul crushing for me, and then it ended up being okay. So stick around for the end. But so I go another about a half mile up to the race. I am the only person on the course. And once I get to that corner where I know I'm supposed to turn, all of a sudden, all of the signs are down for the course directions to go through this neighborhood. And so I like just sit there for a second processing what's happening. And then I quickly realized that they have taken all the signs down. And then I was kind of confused because I knew I had till at least noon to finish, and it was only like 10:30 or maybe it was 11 at this point, but I knew I still had time to finish. In my mind, I'm like, well, maybe I missed the cutoff. And regardless, I start walking back, and I just start bawling. I was so upset. I was just like, I had like 2.5 miles to go, and I was going to finish. I knew I was going to finish. I was feeling strong. I felt like I could have finished. And, you know, I had no words. I just was like crying. And so I'm walking back, and I run into my friend Bree, who just did the sprint triathlon, and she sees me. She's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Do you need medical? And I was like, no. And she knew what was going on. She knew. And I just told her like, no, they took down the race course. And she was like, oh my gosh. And she had no words. She knew that nothing she could have said at that point was going to comfort me. I was just bawling. And so I walked back that half a mile to back where the loop starter is. And I actually run into the race director there, and he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? Do you need medical? And I was like, no. And I was like, I'm trying to finish the race. And they took down all of the signs, and now I just can't finish. And he was like, oh my gosh. He's like, you didn't miss the cutoff. We didn't know you were still racing. We thought this other lady back here was the last one on the course. Let me call my golf cart people over, and we'll make sure you finish this race. And I was just like, okay, thank you. And then at this point, my family and everybody sees me over here crying, and they're like, oh my gosh. So they all run over to me. They think there's something wrong. They think I'm like hurt. And I'm just like, no, I'm just like a blubbering mess. And so then I wait there for probably like 10 minutes. Maybe even longer than that. It was quite a while, because they were waiting for a golf cart to come from further back in the course, because they were collecting all the signs. And so he called them on the walkie-talkie and told them to come over to me right the second, so that way they can lead me through the last of the 3.5 or the 3.2 mile course, or the 3.1 mile course. And so Then I got a private golf cart to escort me. And so so anyways, they lead me back through the course. I'm running. People see what's going on. They see that I'm struggling. So they're cheering. And I get through the last 3.1 miles. I cross the finish line and I finished at 5 hours and I think 3 minutes. It was actually longer than that originally because when I walked a half a mile and I walked back, I hit another marker. And so they had to go back and adjust my time to not show that I did that extra, basically I did another mile. So I ended up doing 7.2 miles. And I finished and it was fine. I didn't have any injuries. I crossed the finish line with a smile on my face.
Chelsea! 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 Woo! Yay! Chelsea!
I was just, honestly, I was so proud of myself for finishing at that point because from the start of it to the end, I struggled. The whole thing went wrong. But honestly, I had a great time. I've never been last in a race before, but I will certainly remember that race forever. I'll talk about my next steps because my original goal was to complete a half Ironman next summer, but after that race, I think I'm gonna need some more time. So the swim, honestly, again, I was so surprised by how I reacted to that. And I don't know, I feel like I need time to forget about the swim before I get back into training for another triathlon, just because it was not traumatizing, but it was hard. It was a hard swim. I had a bad experience. And so I just need some time to clear my mind of it before I jump back into a lake and try to do that again. I still definitely have the triathlon bug. I still want to do some races. I live in Minnesota. It is September, which means in just a couple months, we are going to have below 0 temperatures, lots of snow and ice. And so I'm kind of coming up with a game plan on how to stay active this winter. So that way next summer, I'm not starting from ground zero. But anyway, so I have a couple races planned, running races, different things. But other than that, I will update you guys in some future videos of goals that I'm working on and things that I'm doing to stay active. And I so appreciate you guys watching and following me along the journey this far. I hope that you guys will stick around, even though I am on the struggle bus most of the time. But hopefully it's at least, entertaining. I don't know. But anyway, all right. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.